This is a story that I am dying to tell our audience because it's so funny. Anytime that an anti-gay organization is caught involved in gay hijinks, I think it's hilarious. And it's happened yet again. There's a man named George Rekers. I don't know if it's Rekers or Rekers or how it's pronounced, but I can tell you what he does unequivocally. He is, number one, a Baptist minister and a founding member of the Anti-Gay Family Research Council. We're familiar with them, of Tony Perkins fame. He's also a board member of an organization called NARTH. They basically espouse that gays can be fixed. They can turn straight. He's also a board member of the American College of Pediatricians, which is a shell group which basically just wants to bring credibility to anti-gay distortions. He has a lucrative career going on as a witness against gay adoption in trials. He gets paid whether the adoption happens or not, sometimes as much as 60 grand for one trial appearance. This is the most important thing. He most recently has been caught with what is being called a rent boy, aka a male escort, a prostitute, on a European vacation. On April 13th, the rent boy arrived at Miami International Airport on Iberian Airlines Flight 6123 after a 10-day, fully paid-for trip to Europe. He was followed out of customs by an old man with a mustache and desperate blonde comb-over, as our friend Alvin McEwen at the Huffington Post writes, pushing an overburdened baggage cart. The man was George Rekers of North Miami, the callboy's client, and as it happens, one of the most prominent anti-gay activists. I love it. There is nothing funnier to me than when anti-gay activists who make a career out of making life difficult and less enjoyable for homosexuals get caught with a male prostitute.
Right. It's what I like to call American Beauty syndrome, if you've seen the movie.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's just absolutely hilarious. I love it. We'll keep an eye on it. Also, the White House Correspondents Dinner. Jay Leno bombed. Take a listen to Barack Obama, who got way more laughs than Jay Leno.
Though I am glad that the only person whose ratings fell more than mine last year is here tonight. Great to see you, Jay. I'm also glad that I'm speaking first because we've all seen what happens when somebody takes the time slot after Leno's.
So Barack Obama was absolutely killing, and then Jay Leno goes up there, he barrels through a ton of material, getting almost no laughs. Take a listen.
Thank you very much. This is every comedian's dream, rich people eating. As you know, there was quite a security line to get in. I got stuck behind the Arizona congressional delegation. Luckily, all their papers were in order, so it wasn't too much of a problem to get in. And I have the distinct honor of being the only person on this panel not subpoenaed by Rod Blagojevich. So I think that's pretty impressive itself. You know, I have the privilege of meeting President Obama a number of times, and always surprises me to hear critics describe the president as cold and aloof. I have never found him that way. He loves to socialize, healthcare, car companies, things of that nature.
Wow.
Well,
tough crowd. It's when the president is doing better than Jay Leno at stand-up. Jay Leno, think about him what you will, and my opinion of him isn't that he does a particularly hilarious show, even though he's been involved in some interesting controversies. The president is doing better. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, come on. Who's going to have the better writers? Obviously, the president.
You wouldn't think so. You'd think Leno... By the way, I heard he was recycling some of those jokes from his show. That's not good. Because by his show... I know not that many people are watching his show, but somebody's going to notice.
He's done. He's washed up.
That you're recycling jokes. New stations, Longmont Channel 3 in Longmont, Colorado, is airing Midweek Politics. We're thrilled to have them. Last week's poll: is the new Arizona immigration reform law unconstitutional? 40% saying yes, 45% saying no, 15% just don't know. The new poll: is the Louisiana oil spill reason to cancel the new offshore drilling proposed by Barack Obama? Yes or no? That's the poll. MidweekPolitics.com. You just select one and you click vote. It's very easy. You can also get our newsletter by logging on to MidweekPolitics.com and signing up. Emails to get to. radio@midweekpolitics.com is our email address. From the UK. In England, I'm certain that David would be classed as a conservative, which is ironic because in his country, he's too liberal, but for my tastes, too conservative. I don't know that in the U.S. we're too liberal, are we? We are liberal, but certainly not as liberal as we would be, or rather, certainly more liberal than we'd be considered in the United Kingdom.
I would not call us extreme or far to the left or...
Well, but many would.
Oh, well, everything's relative.
But in the UK, it sounds like we'd be
apparently
to the right. The Glenn Miller interview. Over 100 emails about Glenn Miller. Almost none were positive. Really, the only one is, he made a good point. Why does the U.S. take upon itself the task of defending any criticism of Jews around the world? And also, he's right. Jews do control the government. Okay. Other than that, obviously people thinking that Glenn Miller is nuts. An obvious sign of insecurity about how he subconsciously feels he actually did. If one has to keep telling everyone how he schooled someone or kicked ass, one probably didn't do anything of the sort, referring to Glenn Miller announcing how well he did on the interview. It was nice of Glenn to validate you as being one of the big Jews. That was surreal. I'm glad you laughed at that which was laughable. I'm glad he didn't shy away from having guys like him. The more he speaks, the less chance of ever being elected. And then a lot of people very concerned. Chilling. Glad you were able to make this known. And by the way, who are the 300 million whites our people supposedly murdered? Glenn Miller referring to 300 million that were allegedly murdered by Jews. radio@midweekpolitics.com is our email address. Thanks for listening. Consider the membership program on midweekpolitics.com. We'll be back next week with plenty more.
You've been listening to Midweek Politics with Dave Pakman.
Midweek Politics is brought to you in part by Jackson & Connor, classically modern men's apparel in Northampton, Massachusetts on the second floor of Thorne's Marketplace, and by DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at difdesign.com. To find out more about underwriting Midweek Politics, visit midweekpolitics.com.